Today is December 14th, 2016. We are here at the workplace of Jesse Hamilton. Today's work crew is Maru Rosner on audio recorder. We have Benjamin Kowalski on still camera and Phoenix Chambers on video camera. You ready, Maru? Ready, Ben? Yes. Ready, Phoenix?
Don't do that. Sit still.
I'm going to ask you a few questions. Have you always lived in Marlboro?
No, I grew up in West Brattleboro.
When did you move to Marlboro?
I moved to Marlboro in 2000.
Where specifically in town do you live?
Well, I started out on Ames Hill Road, and 4 years ago I bought property on the Outer Hall Road, and that's where I currently live today.
What are some of the reasons why you moved into Marlboro?
Well, I really liked it here. I grew up very close to being here and decided it's where I wanted to look for property and buy property. And I met someone and got married and have been here ever since.
Speak a bit about the history of the house you live in.
Well, the house I currently live in was built in 1941. It was a hunting camp, and it was owned by Charlie and Eleanor Adams. It's on approximately 320 acres, and most of the land now is owned by somebody else. But it was built, like I said, as a hunting camp. It was improved to a year-round dwelling, and that's where I picked it up. I've done some additions and things.
Aside from Marlboro, have you lived anywhere else as an adult?
Yep, in West Brattleboro, where I grew up. I lived there, and this is the only other place I've lived in. Actually, the only other place I've lived in.
What are your parents' names and what were their careers?
My father is Dean Francis Hamilton. He was a truck driver for Agway in Brattleboro, as well as a dairy farmer. My mother is Linda Gloria Hamilton. She worked as a waitress in Brattleboro for various restaurants and was a farmer's wife.
By judging, how far away do you think your house is here, away from your house that you grew up?
About 8.5 miles.
Nice. How would you describe yourself when you were a child?
I grew up on a farm. I was very active, doing all the things that farm kids do, taking care of animals and baby cows and calves and horses and chickens and ducks and pigs and all the things that farm kids do. Yep. It was very busy.
How many brothers or sisters do you have?
I have 3 younger sisters.
What are their names?
My oldest sister is Jennifer. She's an ER nurse that works in the town of Brattleboro at Brattleboro Hospital. My sister Amy is a Brattleboro police officer. And my youngest sister Tina lives in Colorado, and she currently works for a hospital in the ER department doing paperwork sort of things.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Brattleboro Union High School.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1990.
What did you do during the summer after you finished high school?
I joined the Army, and I was in the Army for almost 14 years.
Nice. What college did you attend to?
I didn't go to college. I joined the Army so that I could get the GI Bill, which I qualified for. And in the end, never ended up going to college. I started my own business and became very busy at that and decided that at some point that really wasn't that much fun anymore. So I came to work for the town of Marlboro at that point.
Would you describe yourself differently as a teenager than when you were a child?
No, not really. I act childish a lot, even though I'm only 44.
Sorry, what's your partner's name?
My partner's name is Jody Oakman.
What's your occupation?
His occupation, he works for the Holstein Association in Marlboro, Vermont. He is in charge of their billing department.
You say it outside. What year did you get into work on the road crew?
I started on the road crew May 16th, 2011.
What other jobs have you had as an adult before you began with the town road crew?
Well, as a farmer, that was job number one. Aside from farming, I worked for various excavating and landscaping companies, as well as for myself. I owned my own excavating and landscaping company for 13 years, as well as being in the National Guard for the U.S. Army for almost 14 years. And here I am working for the town of Marlboro, still playing in the dirt.
Who is your current road foreman?
His name is David Elliott.
Is he the one who hired you?
Yes.
What are the various jobs that you have done to keep the town roads in good shape?
Well, there's first and foremost plowing and sanding. We've been very busy at that all week. Living in the town of Marlboro, I realize that it snows here almost every day.
Yeah.
And when it's not snowing, then there's always grading and maintaining the road so that the traffic has a smooth surface to go on, back and forth to work and home. There's always brush to cut and ditches to clean and culverts to maintain, and it's always interesting.
Well, yeah, it snows a lot here. Like, what do you do in the summer time, spring?
A lot of grading and keeping ditches clean and maintaining the roads. Any part of that, whether it's adding gravel or smoothing them out to get a nice surface, getting rid of potholes, fixing and replacing culverts, maintaining bridges, signs, almost everything that you can imagine on the side of any road in this town, my hands have been on.
What are some of the specific tools and equipment needed to do different jobs around here?
Well, not only do we have to maintain the roads, we also have to maintain the equipment. And I pride myself on being a very good mechanic, so I keep the trucks rolling. And over there is our welder. There's my toolbox. There's shovels and rakes hanging everywhere. I have to know how to operate and maintain every piece of equipment here, whether it's the loader, the little trucks, all three of these big trucks. There's a road grader out there, a backhoe. It's endless, lots of tools.
Alright. Next question, what are some of the specific skills needed in order to be able to do the jobs?
I think one of the biggest, most important skills that this job requires is being a people person and being able to accept everybody in this town for who they are and listen to them. They don't always complain, but they always have something to say about what we're doing well or what we're doing wrong. And so we need to weigh out their opinions as to how important it is for the good of everybody versus just what they want. And I think that's the most important skill anybody here can have, is to listen and just do a good job, and at the end of the day, go home safely.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Who maintains the equipment that you use these?
We all do. There's three of us that work here. Most of the maintenance is, well, all of the maintenance is done by the three of us that work here, and we all take equal parts in that duty.
How did you learn how to do all the jobs in the road crew?
Well, a lot of it was growing up. I never went to school to be a mechanic. I got a lot of training in the Army. I did take some courses in welding, and that's one of the things I'm really good at here is welding. Other than that, really no training, just hands-on, day-to-day learning, looking at things, knowing how to improve upon them, and always wanting something to be better.
Alright, In addition to knowing the tools and equipment, you also have to know about the road engineering and construction, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How have you learned about road building?
Well, the first thing you need to know is that water won't run uphill. Water always needs to run downhill. And if we can keep it away from the road, that's the main thing. That's job number one, keeping the water when it rains or when the snow melts, keeping it from harming the roads, keeping the culverts clean and the ditches clean. That's probably almost job number one here.
How do you do that?
With the backhoe or the grader or the loader, right down to a shovel, or sometimes we have culverts that are plugged and we have to go get the fire truck and use a fire hose and blast out the crap and the leaves and the sticks, and the dogs put balls in there and plug the culverts up.
Have you had any special training outside of your own experience?
A little bit. Like I said, I took some courses on basic mechanics and I took some welding courses when I was in the Army, and other than that, it's pretty much just been hands-on with what I've done all my life.
What are some of the things you need to know about as you plan for some road and bridge construction?
We always need to know what the weather's going to do. You need to pay attention to what you think the weather's going to do, and always be patient, because at the last minute the weather can change. Just basically be flexible and prepared for anything that Mother Nature has to throw at us.
Do you prefer construction or repair jobs?
I actually like the repair jobs. It's interesting to me to figure out, number one, what went wrong to make something fail, and to improve upon that to see that it doesn't happen again, and to possibly look into, could something be improved upon? Is this culvert in the right place? Is this road, is there good visibility on this corner? Or is there good material here? Do we need to add more gravel? Do we need to pitch the road in a direction so that problems don't exist?
Alright, what were some of the more severe challenges the road crew had to deal with Hurricane Irene?
Well, rebuilding the roads. Believe it or not, at one time, at whatever elevation we are, it's right around 2,000 feet above sea level, this town of Marlboro was an island. We were surrounded on four sides by water, which is the definition of an island. So we needed to get bridges back working. We needed to get roads. We lost approximately 9 miles of road that needed to be rebuilt from scratch. We needed to fix, just off the top of my head, there was at least 4 bridges that I remember that got damaged. And we have just recently finished that, and that was 5 years ago.
Alright, do you have a particular job as part of the crew that you especially like or always do?
Maintenance, vehicle and equipment maintenance. I really enjoy welding. It's one of my first and foremost favorite things to do here. I can put my helmet on and be in my own world, looking at exactly what I'm doing. I really like the mechanical aspects of my job.
How is it decided who will do which of the different jobs is required in the road crew?
Well, we pretty much do whatever we're the best at. My coworker Louie, he's good at the grader, so he sits in the grader and he does most of the grading work. I drive truck and run equipment. Whether it's the backhoe or the loader, I can run the grader. I spend a lot of time in that vehicle right there, that dump truck. On Monday, I spent 11 and a half hours in there between plowing and sanding.
So what is the grader?
The grader is our tool for grading the roads. makes the middle of the road a little higher than the outsides so that the water runs off. It has a blade that will extend out and it can clean the ditches out, as well as taking all of the gravel and piling it into the middle of the road and then spreading it back out and packing it down, which is a process that we do on every dirt road at least 4 or 5, maybe more times a year.
So what are some of the names of your current crew members?
Well, there's myself, there's Lewis, and there's my boss, Dave. It's just 3 of us.
All right. What do you feel are the more important parts of this job?
The most important part of my job is, number 1, to do things safely. So that at the end of the day, I get to go home with all of my fingers and toes. But also that everybody in this town can use our roads and get home safely and get back to work the next day safely. That our school buses can do their routes and pick up kids and get them to school safely. So I would say that the one word that is the most important thing about my job is safety, whether it's for myself or for everybody else around me and the community.
What are some of the parts of working in a road crew that you particularly like?
I particularly like being able to have a certain amount of freedom to notice problems that might arise or things that may become a problem later on and addressing them so that it doesn't create a problem, so that we're there. Sometimes it's actually nice to be not noticed doing some little thing, but problems with roads, however small they are, don't get smaller. Small problems always become large problems. And being able to address that, fix it, and move on to the next one, that's probably one of my favorite things.
What parts of town do you plow during the snow days or snowstorms?
Well, actually, I plow almost everything on the south side of Route 9. I plow Town Hill, South Road, Moss Hollow, Lucia Road, Ames Hill, Cowpath 40, Barrows Road, Fox Road, Stark Road, MacArthur Road, and Hamilton Road.
A lot. Alright, sounds like named after you.
It's not. It's named after my family.
That's cool. Will you talk about a particular experience you've had?
Just one?
Yes. You too, yeah.
Every time I go out with the plow on, it's a different experience. Every snowstorm is a little different. A lot of it has to do with timing, when the snow hits, when it ends, what kind of snow it is. Is it fluffy snow? Is it packy snow? Is it the snow you drive on and it becomes ice? Too many times to count, I've come across people that were stranded because their car wouldn't go anymore. And so I've hitched the chain on and pulled them out with the plow truck and they follow behind me. I guess probably if I'm thinking about it right now, the one thing that stands out is Gail MacArthur driving the school bus one morning on Cowpath 40 and decided that, well, the bus decided that it wasn't going to keep going up the hill. So I had to come up behind her with the plow truck and kind of put the plow gently against the back of the bus and hold the bus with the children on it and help her put her chains on her tires. I think that one stands out. It's something I laugh about every time I'm going up through there.
Are there parts of your job that you find challenging or that you don't dislike, that you do dislike?
Well, probably the most challenging part of my job is fighting the weather because you never know. Even I carry an iPhone that has the latest Weather Channel apps on it, and I listen to the weather in the morning before I go to work, and I go home for lunch because I only live a quarter mile from here, and I watch the weather again, and and then I watch it at night, and sometimes what they say is gonna happen doesn't happen, or it's the opposite of what happens. That's probably one of the most frustrating things, and you have to just shrug it off and deal with it the best way you can.
Would you please describe a typical day for you from now when let's get up? Could you describe a day that happens to you mostly often when you wake up?
Well, I'm a man by routine. I get up in the morning, I take care of my dogs, I get my coffee, and maybe I have a bite to eat for breakfast, pack my lunch, pack my partner's lunch, and I'm at work at 7 o'clock, provided I don't get called in early to go and plow and sand. We work doing whatever needs to be done that day. We have coffee at 9:30. We go home, or I go home for lunch at 12. We have a half an hour lunch, and then we work until 4:30 every day. And you never know from one minute to the next exactly what you're going to be doing.
What would happen if there was a snowstorm? What would you do immediately?
Well, if there was a snowstorm, I probably would have been woken up because my boss called me and said, you need to come in early. At that point, you look out the window, you get everything ready, and you go to work and deal with it. We try to have all of our equipment ready to go, have the plows on, have our sand all loaded, parked in here so that we can just open the doors and go.
What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of being in the workplace at the same town?
Probably one of the biggest disadvantages, I think, is that this is a small town. And everybody knows everybody else's business. And I really have a hard time separating that out and not trying to get involved with neighbors that don't get along or people that don't get along. And you just need to smile and do your best and try to make everybody happy. I go on the adage that you can't make everybody happy all of the time. What I try to do and what we try to do here is make most people happy most of the time. And sometimes that's a difficult thing to do.
Have the jobs of the road crew changed over the time that you have been involved?
They haven't changed a whole lot in the 6 years that I've been here. But the stories of the way things were done years ago, all the way back to when the road grader was pulled by horses, if you can imagine. And the old equipment that didn't start when it was cold, and this building's only been here for about 10 years, and the old shop wasn't heated, and just getting with the times, I think, is the biggest change, and that's something we're always going to be faced with because times are always changing and technology is always getting better. But sometimes it just comes down to brute force.
If you were to describe what you think of the job will look like in the future, what changes would you probably make?
Well, my job and our job here at the town is pretty basic, and technology and computers are great for certain aspects, maybe in predicting better weather. Somebody may invent a better vehicle, but other than that, it's pretty simple. Things are going to just need to be done the way they've always been done.
How long have you been a firefighter?
I've been a firefighter for the town of Marlboro now almost 17 years.
Who's the current fire chief?
Also my boss, David Elliott.
What are some of the reasons why you volunteer for the fire company?
Well, I'm here every day, and my boss is my boss here, but he's also my fire chief. And when my pager goes off, we go during the daytime. We don't have a lot of fires. During bad weather, we have a lot of accidents on Route 9. I'm not medically trained. I have basic life-saving skills. I can do CPR, I can stop bleeding and things like that. It's just one more thing that I do because I live in this community and feel that I should take part in.
Besides this skill set, just explain, what other training do firefighters need to qualify as a firefighter?
Well, there's all kinds of things. I've had what they call Firefighter 1, which qualifies me to run an engine and go into a burning building wearing an air pack and fight a fire. It qualifies me to give CPR, stop bleeding, and it also helps me direct traffic, because when you have an accident, there's a lot of other people that need to come and go, and we need to get them around the accident scene safely. The number of courses and classes and things that you can do to better yourself as a firefighter are endless. A lot of it doesn't apply to us. We have no high-rise buildings. We have no fire hydrants. We don't have a municipal water supply. We get our water out of a pond or from another truck from another department in another town.
What are some of the more common types of fires you fight here in town?
Well, we have the occasional structure fire, house fire, be it, but probably the most common thing that we get calls for are accidents on Route 9. But because of our proximity to Marlboro College, we get a lot of false alarms, a lot of people trying to cook, and it makes smoke and the fire alarm goes off, so we all have to go over there and say, yep, they burnt their food. Probably the most common is car accidents.
In recent years, the fire company has also taken on the role of emergency first responders. How has it changed the nature of the job?
Well, it hasn't changed for me. I'm not first responder qualified. I am a first responder in the sense that I respond first. I will go there and do what I can. And anybody that's on the volunteer fire company, that's really all that anybody can ask of them, is to do whatever they can possible for the better of the situation, whether it's a car accident or somebody's overdosed or there's a building on fire, or you just go and do what you can do the best you can do it.
What do you feel are the more important parts of the job?
Firefighting or working for the town?
Either, I guess, yeah.
To always have an open mind and a positive attitude and a safe manner in thinking. Not always maybe jumping in head first without thinking things over a little bit and seeing how the situation may develop in your favor or prevent it from not developing in your favor.
What are some of the parts of the job that you find particularly rewarding?
Going home at the end of the day with a deep satisfaction of a job well done, I think I get the most enjoyment out of knowing that I did my best. Whatever I did today made things better, whether it's the fact that I dealt with an icy road, or the fact that I pulled somebody out of the ditch, or the fact that I helped somebody because they had a car accident. But just going home every day with the satisfaction of a job well done.
Would you please describe what happens when you are ordered to go to a fire or a first responder incident, and what are the series of tasks that need to be performed?
Well, every situation is different. I have a pager on my hip, and when the tone goes off, there's a brief description of the situation, whether it is a car accident, or there's a building on fire, or You're just investigating because somebody sees some smoke, or maybe somebody's taken too many medications, and you have to deal with that. So every situation is different. So you just need to get a mindset that deal with it, like I said before, the best way that you know how, and to the best of your abilities and training.
Sorry, I read that. How do you see the future for the volunteer fire company?
Well, I think that the future of the volunteer fire company is about what it is now. Unfortunately, our numbers have been dwindling, so we need more people to join. A lot of times when there's an accident or a house fire, or whatever, we're shorthanded. We don't have enough people. Not every time, but sometimes it comes down to funding. There's never enough money to throw at getting something newer and better. But that's not always the best approach either. I think that one of our biggest hurdles is manpower.
Want to talk about some of your interests outside of work?
Well, I love gardening and landscaping and working around my house, taking care of my husband, my dogs. I have a lot of pride in my dogs. I like to fiddle around with things in my garage and tinker on my own equipment that I've collected over the years. I'm an avid toy collector, and probably one of my largest passions is steam trains.
Is there anything else about your job or your life in Marlboro that you would like to mention?
I'm very proud to live here. I'm very proud to work here. I love this community, and right now I couldn't see anybody that has a better job than I do.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.